Good evening, and welcome to not another episode of Splattercast. No, we are coming at you with a review for the film They/Them.
Just enjoy the sunshine and work on your tan.
They/Them. Streaming only on Peacock, August 5th.
The new Blumhouse pick, presented to you on Peacock. I don't think it's in theaters at all. It's only streaming on
No.
Peacock. Yeah,
Yes.
so this is it for this one. This was an interesting concept. We kind of talked a little bit about this. I believe it was the Sunday Scaries after uh Tremors 2.
Yes.
So after that episode, because we're hot off of Tremors, talking about Kevin Bacon, even though he's not in that film, he was definitely a part of
could
the
have been.
conversation. He could have been, yes, that could have been something. But we were not blessed with that. Instead, we were blessed with this film. And so I don't even know where to begin with this one, honestly. It was more something, I think if you go back and watch that episode, we were pretty interested.
Yes.
I guess I think a lot of this, and my wife kind of said this the best, I think, is that really, I think at the end of the day, what really sold us on this, and what I know sold her, was the title. Because it's a nice play on words. It's a really unique and creative title. They/them, because it's playing on the whole pronouns aspect, but also if you're making a slasher film, especially one that takes place at a campground with Kevin Bacon, I mean, it's kind of like the expectations are there. And I think that, this is the furthest thing from a slasher movie at the end of it. Like, this movie has the biggest identity crisis. I mean, unironically, for it being about a conversion camp, and them kind of having that whole aspect of some of those kids like don't really know, who they are, or if they want to be gay, or if they want to, try to go straight. It's like this film itself has a huge identity crisis because it bills itself and sets itself up as a slasher for the first 5 minutes, and then we don't even touch that until towards the very end.
Yeah. And that is how it is presented even in the trailers, where it's like it's a true slasher through and through is what you go in expecting here. And I'll say watching this film, seeing the trailer, yes, the title They/Them really sold me on it. I think the concept in general sold me on it as well, because it's a unique spin on what you would think would be, your typical slasher. I would say this movie is such a missed potential mark here, because going into it, it checks all the boxes. And you think you're going to get one thing and you don't. And it's like, and it's not even like they flip it on its head and you get something completely different. It's like they never realize full potential either way, because this could have been a very unique, different kind of slasher with a new take on something if you would have went full force with it. But I don't feel like they did. Um, and this could have been an interesting psychological horror if you would have really leaned into that a little more, but they didn't. So it's like it becomes neither. And I don't think it does, you don't get satisfied either way. So you're always left wanting more, and not in a good way. Like, oh, I can't wait to see more. It's like, I don't feel like you told me a complete story in any sense here.
Yeah, no, it really feels disjointed. Like, we finished watching this just a little bit ago before we hopped on here and did this review, at least my wife and I, and she was like, "So what are you going to say on the review?" And I was just like, "Well, that was a movie." I guess, because I'm just like, I just didn't really have much to give because this movie doesn't give you much. Like, I mean, it's a basic setup, and again, the concept is interesting. It's a
Yeah.
slasher taking place at a conversion camp, but again, it just seems like the writer kind of had that idea or had this title and then just kind of slapped together a first draft for a horror film and then called it that, because it's like it just really falls off the wagon. I get, to a degree, and I'm pretty basic. I'm just straight white male. I can't sit here and say whether or not some of this stuff, like, because you know um I would think that there are conversations and there are some moments, some scenes that get pretty intense, especially dealing with the LGBTQ community. Like, I mean, there's definitely some stuff that I could see kind of really triggering somebody and setting some stuff off. Just the way that people talk to some of these characters and treat them. I
Yeah,
could see that being kind of a play up on the horror. But I guess I just couldn't relate to it as hard. So I don't know if that would really, if that's where some of this horror was supposed to go.
yeah,
Because I just, to me, it just more or less just seemed preachy and kind of, yeah, almost just like borderline just abusive and just kind of tough to watch, where it's just like, they're just basically taking these people, putting them in a room, and you just have to watch the therapy angle of it. And it's just kind of like, to what end, really?
yeah,
It's just like, what are we trying to accomplish here? Because I don't think it progresses any of the characters any further. I don't think it progresses the story at all. I think that it's just there because, oh yeah, we're in a conversion camp, so obviously we have to taunt these people for their sexuality or how they identify. Like, that just has to go with it. It just didn't feel earned. Nothing
yeah,
felt like it was there. So it's like, to me, I just really had a hard time connecting with this movie in any way. Um and again, which is just baffling to me, because again, the setup is, kind of intriguing. It's, a camp, it's a slasher. I should be all for this. Like, I fucking love Friday the 13th and stuff like that. Sleepaway Camp, fucking Madman to an extent. You know what I mean? Like, these are all movies, all slashers in a camp, but like, this just strays so far away from that. And then when it comes back to it, it's just like, too little, too late. And
yeah,
really, at the twist is like so wonky and mismanaged. It's just kind of like, I just have a hard time seeing anybody greenlighting this script. Again, it really just feels like Jason Blum was given a title and a concept and said, "Go for it,"
yeah.
without
And,
even
and
giving anything else.
And I know what they Blumhouse tends to give a lot of leeway to their the directors and writers here, so I can easily see seeing something like that happening. And this space here is tough to navigate because you don't know what you want to add, what you don't want to add to become you. I think you're always worried about being offensive.
Hmm.
What subject matter should we cover here? So going into something like conversion camp, I feel is a very touchy subject, and you don't know what subjects you should be tackling. So, like, there were moments in here where I was like, I don't know if we should be going this route. And I
Yeah.
do believe the writer and direct same person. He's a gay man, I believe.
Okay.
Um, and I do think I read an article saying that they had, I don't know if it was actual consultants from GLAD or they were just consulted, not actually on set. I think they said they had that available for the cast because of some of the subject matter that they were during those therapy sessions that they didn't want to, maybe some of those things were triggering from a real life perspective for some of those actors, tackling those things and hearing those things in terms of being on set. So, I had to kind of look into that a little bit to see if who should be kind of navigating this space. Because again, it's such a new space to be captured on film. I think to really dive into things like the pronouns, the conversion camps, things like that, where it is a new space for a lot of different viewers. So I wasn't really sure how this was gonna play, and I don't know. Again, the jury's still out for me on that because I was unsettled a little bit during that. I just
Oh
really
yeah,
wasn't
it's
sure.
some of those conversations are rough. And like,
Yeah,
I mean, like I said, even not being a part of the community, it's tough to watch, because I mean, I have people in my life, friends, family, who, are a part of the community. And like, we've had conversations and things like that about, how people feel and how people treat people like that. And it's like, I think those are probably the most impactful scenes. I just wish that the movie and everything around it was a little stronger, and felt like it had more care taken to it, because you're right. This is kind of a tough space to navigate. But like, it just felt like it just got lazy and it just kind of didn't really know what it wanted to do, and that's just kind of disheartening because I think there's a really interesting concept here, and you can dive kind of double dip into that aspect of playing into the real true fears about, living in a place or a country or any time where, you aren't fully accepted by some people, or, that you have to live with these fears. And, the idea of like, cause I think like there's a moment in this where they're talking about a lot of like how their family thinks of them, or how like the one girl says, what would happen if they found out at school, that's horrifying. I can only imagine how people like that would feel because of just like public perception. And like those are really strong aspects, but then you just the rest of the movie flounders. So it's like take those concepts and put a little bit more respect to them, and actually build a competent movie around it. And I think you got a winner. But like this was just felt really poppy and lazy, and just again, it's that poppy Blumhouse horror that I feared this could turn into.
And that's where, looking at this where it's like, oh, conversion camp, slasher, it's an interesting spin, but I don't know necessarily if that subject matter is ripe in a sense for a slasher because, looking at a Friday 13th or those true hardcore slashers, you're not really getting a huge social commentary on. So it's like for something like this subject matter, maybe a straight up psychological horror where you could just play it
Yes.
straight because for me that subject matter when we're in those therapy sessions and we're really tackling that hardcore those life events and those things that may have happened to a lot of these kids growing up, it really deflates it. And I don't know if we're getting into spoilers too much here, but like there's a particular scene here where there's a slashing of one of the employees. It's one of the first ones that happens, and they're kind of I don't know what they were going for, but there's like a bunch of ventriloquist dummies and all this.
Yeah, I didn't get
And
that one either.
and it's like it kind of almost deflates everything that we were talking about in terms of all these real issues when we're kind of intertwining it with this kind of tongue in cheek weird kills that I don't know if I'm supposed to be freaked out by or almost laugh about because it's like some of the subject matter is so heavy and then we're trying to intertwine it with this kind of slasher vibe. It doesn't really fit. So it's like if this was a very heavy social commentary and then we're getting into a psychological horror, I think that would have worked so much better instead of trying to intertwine a real social issue with kind of a kind of go in kind of a light popcorn slasher flick. I don't think it worked. I mean, like reading the synopsis, okay, be like that'd be interesting, but I wouldn't want to see. I wouldn't want to see Jason Voorhees slash through a conversion camp. You know what I mean? Like I don't think that
Yeah.
would work. So it's like I don't think a slasher at a conversion camp eh, as an execution would actually work. It's like it would be like a fun like elevator pitch to be like, "Hey, what if this happened?" And then as you open it up a little more, you're like, I don't know if this feels right. Maybe we pivot into a psychological horror because I don't think the conversion camp and the slasher subgenre they really meld together well.
No, and I agree. That's why I think like this was probably mostly a pitch on a title and a concept,
Yep.
and they didn't flesh it out before they went and threw everything into it. And you bring that up, and the thing that kept shining through my brain as I'm watching this movie is just like, what would happen if we gave this to like Ari Aster,
Yeah.
and produced by A24. And you're right, make it a psychological thriller, really play into the terror and the horror of just being a part of the BTQ community, and having to deal with bigotry and people who literally wish you dead,
Yeah.
like just like the kind of trauma that presents and has on people. Like how fucked up is it that there are people who could go their whole life being loved by their parents, and then just because the person they love or the way they identify, suddenly they are just you know fucking dead to them.
Yep.
Like that's horrifying. And I mean, like you could really tell a scary ass fucking movie with that. But like you you're right. I think that just like kind of putting that in a setting for like a Friday the 13th kind of thing, it just on paper sounds intriguing because I know we were interested in this, but like, no, I don't think it worked at all.
Yeah. Overall, I don't think that those kind of concepts really go together. It almost discredits the struggle that some of these kids are going through on
Mhm.
screen. I think so, and I think this space here is something that needs to be talked about more. And I don't know if this kind of they slash them has really opened that up for more stories to tell. I don't want to say it's done more harm than good. I mean, like I guess it's hard to tell at this point, but like it makes it hard to make for the next film to be made. You know what I mean? Because there's a lot of discourse that needs to be talked about here. It needs to be had, and I don't know if this is doing that discourse any favors now.
No, I agree. But yeah, I can't. I'm not gonna recommend they slash them. Really, honestly, like for me, I'd say you could skip this one, and I can just hope that this concept is maybe pursued a little bit better in the future. You know,
Yeah,
we get this into something with a little bit more of competent hands, with a stronger story, a stronger take on it, maybe because like again, I just think that this one didn't hit for me. It really missed the mark, which again sucks because it's like we're big Kevin Bacon fans. Like you said, uh, I think in your text message you said if we gave him something with some substance,
yeah,
you could see that shine through because he's got some monologues and stuff like we say with those therapy sessions where he says some stuff and it's just like he's really doing well, like he's really selling it, but like and just again, it's just like I keep thinking about the whole once you get it about halfway through the second act of this movie, I just feel like we just kind of mope around and we just kind of go into places where it's just kind of like random shit's happening. Like,
yeah.
I like not to spoil too much, but it's like, we just people just start having sex and like the scenes
It's
are going
very
on for
weird.
so long. And it's just like, like I don't have any issue with sex in movies, obviously, but it's just like one of those things where it's just kind of like, okay, but like to what end? Because nothing ever comes of it. Other like again,
Yeah,
okay, one scene leads to something, but then it's just kind of like, why would you do that? Like, why
and
is that even a part of this program?
like
And then
at
the
that
other one,
point,
there's no consequences.
and like and at that point there at the point you're talking about where it's like we've went for so long with nothing happening that we're expecting something to happen. It's like at that point we're so deflated that I don't even think as an audience we care that much anymore.
And when the
So
slasher element comes back, it's just like so late in the game that it's just like,
it,
oh
it is
yeah.
legitimately like the last 20 minutes.
Mhm.
It happens so late that honestly by that time you're forgetting you're watching a slasher and you don't know
Oh
what
yeah.
this film is supposed to be.
Yeah, just
So
disjointed,
yep.
pure identity
Pacing's off,
crisis.
it's very weird. I'm with you on that on the same page. I can't recommend this, such a miss here with the subject matter. I think Kevin Bacon does well. Again, I would love to see him to have something with some teeth. I think he can prosper in the horror realm, especially in that kind of thriller aspect of it. I think he can do great. An older Kevin Bacon, I think, can have a great career. It's just like he didn't get anything here to really do. But
Mhm.
anything when he is on screen, I believe him. I think he delivers it with this casualness that is pretty earnest. But overall, he doesn't get that much here. So yeah, I'm with you. I can't recommend they slash them.
Yeah. Well, that about wraps us up here, guys. So, yeah, unfortunately, this was not a hit for us. So, we've kind of had a mixed bag of a weekend uh, so far, I would say. With this one, Prey was good. We liked Prey. So, definitely check that out. I can at least give another recommendation on that. But yeah, just another one of those Blumhouse movies that's just like, okay, like I said, poppy horror. Not my cup of joe, but yeah, if anyway you always want to follow us on Twitter at Splattercast Pod, you can keep up with us on there. We'll be talking all kinds of horror movies, news, anything going on. We usually post our thoughts on there. You can also find us on Spotify, Stitcher, Apple Music, and Amazon Music, where you can catch your Sunday scaries and your Splattercast episodes on there as well. If you guys have any thoughts on They Slash Them or any other thing going on this weekend, feel free to drop it in the comments. We'd love to talk to you guys about it.
Let's talk
And
about Stir of Echoes.
Stir
Don't
of
even talk about
Echoes.
They Slash It then. Let's talk about Stir
Yes.
of Echoes.
Yes. If we're going to talk about a good Kevin Bacon movie that I haven't seen in years, definitely want to revisit that one at some point. So, alrighty. Well, I guess that about wraps us up here, guys. So take it easy.